Hi, I'm Dominic Ponsford, editor of Press Gazette. Welcome to my weekly video blog. This week I'm going to talk about three things. I'm going to talk about radio, I'm going to talk about the rise of local TV, and I'm going to talk about data. So first up, radio. This week we had the quarterly RAJARs. These are the listening figures for UK radio stations, and they're made a very interesting reading for the simple reason that radio listening is up across the board, and that's true for all the speech stations as well, so the ones that employ journalists, so Radio 4, Radio 5, Talk Sport, LBC, they've all got more listeners than they had before. So really interesting in terms of the future of journalism and the idea that media is constantly fragmenting because of the internet. Because radio is nearly as old as print, and it's doing as well as ever. So it just goes to show that there are no sort of certainties when it comes to the future of journalism, the future of media, and that old technologies aren't always pushed out of the way by new ones. Next up, I'm going to talk about local TV. Really exciting times for local TV. 3 years ago, this was launched by the Tories. Nobody thought it would work. It's got very little public funding. The idea is that these new ultra-local stations will be funded almost entirely by advertising. So 3 years on, and it's actually happening. We've got 19 new local TV stations launching in cities around the UK. The biggest one is going to be in London. London Live has got funding from Evgeny Lebedev, £45 million to see it through its first 3 years. Hopefully, over the next couple of years, there's going to be 50 local TV stations launching. Now, only time will tell whether there is enough advertising to keep them going. But it's a very encouraging times for anyone who wants to get in broadcast journalism. A lot of new opportunities out there, and fingers crossed they are going to work. And finally, I'm going to talk about data. We've got a really interesting article on the Press Gazette website this week, which is a sort of everything you wanted to know about data journalism but were afraid to ask. It's by a data journalist at the Times called Nicola Hughes. So if, like me, you didn't really know what Python was or Ruby, apparently they're both programming languages, or you didn't know about things like Google Fusion Tables or OpenRefine, Nicola goes into all of that, and she makes it all quite easy to understand, really. The really interesting thing for me was that she believes that the most sought after skill in the modern newsroom is computer programming. So someone who can write a few lines of code that will enable them to analyse millions of figures or millions of bits of information in a few seconds. So really interesting insight into data journalism there from Nicola Hughes. So you can read more about all of these stories on the Press Gazette website, pressgazette.co.uk.